It was a brisk Saturday morning when I loaded the last grocery bag into the trunk of our aging sedan. The air smelled like rain and promises, and I clutched the receipt like it was a badge of quiet resilience. I'd stretched every dollar from my part-time paycheck to get enough to cover a week's worth of groceries: eggs, bread, rice, vegetables, and even my mother-in-law's favorite chai masala. My husband, Daniel, hadn't asked me to do it, but I knew things were tight for his parents lately. Pride often stood between people and help, especially in families like his where silence was the first language of struggle. As I drove down the familiar streets toward his childhood home, my heart beat a little faster. This house was more than just bricks and mortar, it held his past, his pain, and everything he never said out loud. Daniel had been distant lately, not with anger but with the weight of something unspoken. I thought maybe this act, small as it was, would ease some of that burden. When I arrived, I noticed right away something was different. The curtains were drawn shut, the porch light was still on, though it was morning. The door creaked when I knocked and pushed it open, announcing myself gently. "It's just me, Emily. I brought some groceries." No answer. The house smelled faintly of dust and something else I couldn't place. I stepped into the kitchen and set the bags down on the counter. That's when I noticed it. The silence. It wasn't the peaceful kind, but the heavy, unnatural stillness that made my stomach knot. Then I heard it. A soft sound. Like sobbing. It was coming from the living room. I followed the noise with hesitant steps, and what I saw made me freeze. There, curled up on the worn-out couch, was Daniel's younger brother, Aaron. His hair was unkempt, his clothes wrinkled, and he looked like he hadn't slept in days. His eyes were red and swollen. But what shook me wasn't just his appearance, it was what lay in front of him on the coffee table. A folded eviction notice and an empty pill bottle. "Aaron?" I whispered, rushing toward him. He startled, wiping his eyes in shame. "Emily, what are you doing here?" "I came to drop off groceries," I said, lowering my voice and sitting beside him. "Where's Mom and Dad?" He hesitated before answering. "They left last week. They moved in with a cousin downstate after the bank took the house. They didn't want to tell anyone. I stayed behind too. I don't know. Try and hold things together. I didn't want Daniel to worry more." My heart sank. All this time, Daniel had no idea. No idea that his family had lost their home, no idea that his younger brother, barely out of college, was alone, trying to protect him from a truth too heavy for one person. And then Aaron's shoulders began to shake. "I lost my job a month ago. I couldn't keep up with the bills. And yesterday. I just wanted everything to stop. I didn't know what else to do." My eyes welled up. I reached for his hand and held it tightly. "You're not alone. You hear me? Not now, not ever again." We sat like that for a long time. I didn't ask why no one called. I didn't need to. Sometimes pride builds walls higher than love can climb, until love breaks them down anyway. I made Aaron tea and heated up some leftovers from the fridge. Then I called Daniel. He answered on the second ring, his voice tired. "Hey, Em. Everything okay?" "No," I said softly. "But it's going to be." That evening, Daniel came over, his eyes widening as he took in the state of the house, the sight of his brother, the truth finally exposed. At first, he was angry they hadn't told him, angry he hadn't seen the signs. But underneath that was guilt and heartbreak. He knelt in front of Aaron and hugged him so tightly I thought they'd both fall apart. That night, the three of us stayed at the house. We talked. Cried. Laughed a little too. Shared stories in silence. The next morning, Daniel and I brought Aaron back home with us. We made up the guest room, stocked the fridge, and helped him start fresh. He got therapy, Daniel helped him find part-time work, and slowly, the color returned to Aaron's face. Weeks passed, and with them, the weight that had once hung over our family began to lift. We reached out to Daniel's parents, who tearfully confessed everything, grateful beyond words for the kindness they hadn't dared ask for. We promised to help them get back on their feet too. Sometimes, the smallest act, a bag of groceries, a phone call, a hand held in silence, can change everything. What I saw that day in the living room broke something in me, but it also built something new. A deeper understanding of how easily people can drown in quiet suffering, and how powerful it is to show up, even when no one asks. We don't always need grand gestures to heal people. Sometimes, we just need to arrive with open hands, and stay long enough to listen. And now, every time I pass that old house, I remember not the pain, but the moment our family started to come back together. Not with answers, but with love.